Hi, hello, welcome to Traveling with Dave. I am your host, Dave McGowan, and tonight we're going to talk about a whole lot of things. Part of it is going to be cruises that I've already taken, part of it is a cruise that I canceled, and part of it is going to be about what's going on both in my life and in the world when it comes to cruising. Um, right now, things are a little up in the air. Ships have been coming back with many cases of COVID. There have been difficulties all over the place, and we need to talk about whether it's something to be concerned about or whether it's a normal part of what goes on in our everyday life. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Oh, by the way, if you happen to like what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and what I'm saying and all of those things, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and hit that bell and get notified whenever I have a new episode. That way you keep up with everything that I'm doing. It doesn't cost anything, but it makes it easy for you to see what's happening with Traveling with Dave. All right, now let's get right to it. There have been a lot of little issues coming along, the CDC talking about cruising, all of those factors, vaccinations, you name it, it's out there, and it's something that we should talk about, know about, and work with. So that's the first thing on the agenda tonight. The CDC came out with an absolutely ridiculous statement telling people not to cruise. They're not paying attention, I don't think, because in my mind, there's no safer place to be than a cruise ship. Where else can you go where everyone that you come in contact with is vaccinated? Everyone that you come in contact with has recently had a COVID test, and everything is sterilized and cleaned every single day. Certainly not your local Walmart, certainly not your local Home Depot, certainly not any of the restaurants that you go to at any time. This is a one-of-a-kind experience, cruising, and cruising, I can't see anything safer than being on a cruise ship right now. That's what I see. So when I see people talk about whether cruising should be stopped or canceled or whatever, no. It's a great time to go on a cruise. The cruise ships are traveling with less than 50%. In a general way, they're traveling with less than 50% of their capacity. I was on a cruise on the MSC Meraviglia in October, and that's a ship that holds around 5,600 passengers, and we had 1,066 people on that ship. So there were times when I walked into the main promenade of the ship, and I was the only person there. That's never going to happen when cruising is back to its normal full capacity cruising. It's not going to happen again. And right now is the time when you can take advantage of it. So I would. And that leads me to my own cruise. I was scheduled to be on a cruise right now. And the reason that I didn't go, quite honestly, is because the cost of everything associated with traveling to that cruise had gone up so much that it wasn't affordable anymore. The cruise itself was really inexpensive, but it was going to cost me as much as the cruise just to go from the airport to a hotel in Cocoa Beach, then to the cruise, and then back to the airport again. That transportation and one night's hotel was going to be more expensive than the whole 7-day cruise in a balcony cabin. So I decided that I just couldn't do it. Now, a couple of other things to talk about here. First of all, you'll probably notice that I haven't been on for a long time. It's been since I got back from the 2 cruises that I went on, and I wasn't feeling well when I came back from those cruises. And it turns out that I had not been paying attention to what I was eating and what I was drinking. And I'm a diabetic, and I was really in bad shape. If I had been any worse, I would have been hospitalized. So I've been recovering from that, and that's part of the reason that I haven't been on. I also haven't been on because, in addition to that issue, I've had some other things going on in my household. So my sister has moved in with me, which is really nice. And so now I have my sister and her dog, and I've been moving things around and trying to get things done, and it's just taken some time for me to get back on air. So here I am, and I'm back, and I'm ready to talk about all of the great things that we can do. Now, speaking of great things that we can do, travel is a great value right now. You're going to be able to get really good deals from almost every cruise line. You're going to be able to get great deals on travel to all-inclusive resorts, great airfares. All of that is going on. But at the same time, we're running into problems getting people from point A to point B because the airlines are having a problem keeping people employed and keeping people healthy. There have been thousands of flights canceled. I was looking at the news yesterday and saw that 1,200 flights were canceled just yesterday. And that means that it's really difficult to get where you're going. And that's all the more reason to make sure that you're planning your trip with a good travel agent, somebody that understands how to take care of those things so that you can have a way to work around bad transportation issues from one time or another. I know that if we use the transportation supplied by the cruise lines, for example, the cruise lines guarantee that you will get to the ship. So if something happens to your flight, they will either hold the ship for you until a later flight comes in, or they will provide you with a hotel that night and transportation to the next port. So that's a big deal. Now, speaking of ports, we are having some problem with different ports. Grand Cayman's still not open. Canada is still not open. They will be in a few months. But right now, there are a lot of ports that are not open to cruises. And that means that itineraries on cruise ships are changing. Those changes are inconvenient and certainly irritating in some instances. But at the same time, remember that while you get to go on a cruise, you weren't able to do that last year at this time. You weren't able to do that 2 years ago. And, you know, if you have to go to Jamaica instead of going to Grand Cayman, how bad is it really? Grand Cayman is beautiful. So is Jamaica. So it's really not that big of a loss. If you're scheduled to go into the Dominican Republic and all of a sudden you have to go to some other island in the Caribbean, it's okay. The other islands are great. And if you have to have another sea day and they've decided that you're going to have a sea day and you're going to get a refund of whatever the port fee was for that port, that's how it goes on a cruise. And your cruise contract says that they can change your itinerary at any time. So it's not something to get excited about. It is something to get excited about when it comes to actually being able to go on the cruise, because the cruises are fantastic. The food is great. The service is great. The ships are cleaner than they've ever been. And every part of it is just amazing. So it's well worthwhile to still travel, still take that cruise, and really just make sure that you know what's going on. Now, speaking of knowing what's going on, if you're going to take a cruise, you understand that you have to be vaccinated. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to be vaccinated. The only exception is if you are allergic to the vaccine or you're too young to be vaccinated. That's it. And if one of those two cases is present, then you have to apply for an exemption to the cruise line, because they can only have 5% of the total passenger count. They can only have 5% of them that have an exemption. So if you don't apply for that exemption and don't get it, well, you're not going to get on the ship. You also have to be tested within 2 days of the time you get on the ship. And I said 2 days instead of 48 hours because it's really not 48 hours. I've seen questions from different people all over the place on Facebook, and they keep asking the same question and they keep getting the same answer. So here it is. It's 2 days. If you get tested at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's 2 days before your cruise, it doesn't mean that that test runs out in 48 hours and you have to be on the ship by 8 o'clock in the morning. That's not what it means. It means that you have to be tested 2 days before you get on the ship or sooner. And then that means that you have all day on that boarding day to get on the ship. So just as an example, ship is going to board on Saturday. So you have Thursday and Friday that you can get tested so that you can get on the ship on Saturday. You can also get tested Saturday morning if you find an instant test site or if you're using it at home test. Make sure that whatever test you're using, whatever test you're doing, meets the criteria of the cruise line, because that's critical. Different cruise lines have different criteria for that test. Even though they all require the same thing, different cruise lines are doing different things. So make sure you have the right test for that cruise. Now, let's talk a little bit about airports, airport safety, masks, all of that stuff, okay? In an airport, you have to maintain social distancing. You have to wear a mask inside all of the time that you're in the airport. You have to wear a mask all of the time that you are on the airplane unless you're actively eating or drinking. And you have to wear a mask at the port when you are boarding the ship. Inside the ship, in most cases, you have to wear a mask. That's not necessarily true with Virgin. Just as an example, we were boarding the Scarlet Lady in October, and as we were walking up the ramp to actually get on the ship, there was a Virgin employee that said, "Hey, take your masks off, you're on vacation." And we all did. And there was no mention of masks for the rest of the time that we were on that ship, which was very pleasant, but can be scary to some people. So if you're one of the people that says, no, I have to have a mask, I want to make sure that I'm wearing a mask and other people around me are wearing a mask, don't go on Virgin. Go on one of the other lines, because those other lines are enforcing that mask policy. Virgin is not. And you want to be comfortable. I'm not part of that group, so it's okay for me. The other thing is that different ports have different requirements. There's masking requirements at some terminals. There's no masking requirements at other terminals. So that's something to keep in mind. When you go to a foreign port, be smart. Go to a foreign port. If you go into a store or you go into a restaurant or something like that, try to maintain social distance from the people that are working in that place. Try to maintain distance from the people that are around you and attending those restaurants, because you don't know what their status is. It's very much like being here and going to restaurants or bars or nightclubs or stores or wherever. If you maintain good social distancing, you're being safe for yourself. And that's what's important. Bear in mind that this is a temporary situation. We don't know how long this is going to last, but at some point it's going to be over, and we're going to be able to return to normal travel, normal cruising. And that's going to be something to really look forward to. Now, once again, I'm going to tell you that if you like the content here, please check the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell to be notified whenever I have a new video that comes out. And that way you won't miss anything when I have it going on. I'm going to do 2 additional videos sometime in the next couple of days. And those two videos are going to be one about the MSC Meraviglia. I did the first part, but I never did the second part. And the second video is going to be all about the Virgin cruise on the Scarlet Lady. The Scarlet Lady is a completely different cruise ship from anything else that you've been on. It is not like any other cruise. So that's good for some people, not so hot for other people. And I'm going to give you the lowdown on what to expect, where it differs, how it differs, and my take on whether it's good or bad, because there are parts of it that are just great, and there are parts of it that I wasn't pleased with at all. So we'll talk about all of that. I will tell you that the two cruises that I took in October had one common theme, and that was that the crew on those cruise ships were wonderful. They were amazing people. They were friendly. They were warm. They were outgoing. They wanted to make sure that we had the best possible experience on those cruises, and that's really important. So I just want you to know that the crews are really happy that we're coming back, that we're going back on those cruises, and they're really overjoyed with all of that. Now, one more little thing, and that is that I have a group cruise that I am working on right now. It is going to Alaska out of Seattle. It's on the Carnival Freedom, and it is a 7-day cruise taking the Inside Passage. And I have a group on that cruise. If anybody else is interested in going on that group, please contact me. Send me a message through YouTube, send me a message on Messenger on Facebook, and I will let you know exactly what the costs are and all about that cruise. So that's coming up. But for now, I want to say that I'm happy to be back. I'm really happy that you're watching this. And until next time, I'll see you on vacation.